All right, let me know if everyone, are y'all ready with media? Give me a thumbs up. All right. I'm going to go ahead and begin the press conference. First, I want to welcome everyone here today. My name is Alan Wilson. I'm the Attorney General for the state of South Carolina, and it's my pleasure to be here with such a great group of people standing with me here today to advocate for an incredibly important bill that is currently being debated in the House of Representatives. This is the administrative subpoena bill. Before I talk a little bit about the bill, I want to talk about some of the leaders, the people who have really stepped up in the General Assembly, and there's a lot of them, but there's a couple here today who I want to personally thank for recognizing the importance of passing a law that will make it easier for us to protect children in South Carolina. The first, I want to thank Senator Greg Hembry, who's the bill sponsor over on the Senate side. You will hear from him momentarily over my right shoulder. Senator Hembry, I can't thank you enough for your leadership in getting this bill out of the Senate over to the House. And of course, on the House side, we've had Representative Travis Moore, who is right here. He was the subcommittee chairman who really was a leader in the House in getting this bill to the full floor last week. And I want to thank Representative Moore and Senator Hembry for their leadership. Obviously, we have Kathy Landing and other legislators who are standing probably in the back. But I want to thank all the members of the House who have been supportive and all the members of the Senate who have been supportive. We also have here today a couple of sheriffs representing the whole caucus of sheriffs throughout South Carolina who are members of our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Before I identify our sheriffs and who came with them today, I want to make it known that when I became Attorney General, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force had about 40-ish, give or take, law enforcement agencies and regular agencies that were members of our task force. We're now somewhere north of 125 to 128 agencies, and many of those are law enforcement agencies. And we have several law enforcement agencies or sheriff's departments represented here today who are very active members of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. I want to thank the sheriffs for being here today. We have from Charleston, we have Carl Ritchie, who's right here. Sheriff Ritchie, thank you so much. And he has with him Captain Ford. We have representing my home county of Lexington, Sheriff Jay Kuhn, who's a dear friend and a great ally and an advocate for protecting children. And also from York County, Sheriff Tony Breeden came today with members of his team that are very supportive of this task force. And Sheriff Breeden is sitting here over my left shoulder. He has Major Moore, Captain Reed, Lieutenant Clark, and Detective Robinson. They drove down here this morning. And Hobart Lewis, the sheriff of Greenville, would be here, but he had a hearing with his county council, but he sent Sergeant Tina Adams, who's over his ICAC unit up in the sheriff's department up there. I hope I haven't left out any members from the sheriff's departments who came here today. These are 4 counties, not the only counties, but these are 4 counties that represent some of the highest traffic and cyber tips throughout the state of South Carolina. These cyber tips are basically tips where what happens is somebody is trading in child sex abuse material or child porn. We get a tip from what's called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC for short. And what happens is we will get a tip. It could be someone sees an email come across their platform, or they'll see a screen name, or they'll see an IP address, and they will identify some potential child sex abuse material with that information. What they don't know is who that email, who that IP address, or who that screen name is registered to. Who is the subscriber? And so currently, right now, think about this. We get, on average, I'm told by members of our team, and I'm going to identify them in just a minute, but we are told that there are approximately an average of 11,000, let me say that again, 11,000 cyber tips per year in South Carolina. These are tips coming in from people all over the state, people all over the country, internet service providers, and when we get these tips in, they usually come directly to us or they come through NCMEC. For us to be able to investigate each of these, we have to know where to go. And so the administrative subpoena bill addresses a problem that we currently have. There are two primary ways that we can get the subscriber information. We can go to the United States Attorney's Office or the federal government, and they can do an administrative subpoena, or we can go through what's called the D order process, which is a federal law that allows state courts to sign off and allowing us to get the information behind that nameless, faceless email or screen name or IP address, okay? Sometimes, and oftentimes, it takes weeks and up to several months to be able to identify the identity of the person or the subscriber behind the email, the IP address, or the screen name. And when you're dealing with a case in which there could be an actual child being harmed, an actual child being abused, time is of the essence. And so we are basically we have asked the legislature, under the leadership of the House, Representative Moore and Senator Hembry, who are standing behind me, and they have done a great job of shepherding this bill through. They want to give the Attorney General the authority to basically do an administrative subpoena, which the U.S. Attorney can already do, and this could save weeks and months off of an investigation. Now, here's what this bill does not do, and what I want to make abundantly clear. There was a debate last week on the House floor, and there were members of the House in both caucuses who were very concerned about people's constitutional rights and privacy being violated. Let me tell you what this bill does not do. This does not give the Attorney General or any law enforcement agency the ability to go get your personal information. We can't get your text messages. We can't get your emails. We can't get things that personally belong to you. All this gives us is the subscriber information behind the IP address or the email or the screen name. It doesn't mean that person is the one who committed the crime. It just gives us a location. Basically, it gets us to the start line faster. And once we get to the start line, that is when law enforcement can start getting search warrants and all the due process protections under our Constitution are in place. Last week on the House floor, there was a concern that was raised, and I think the waters got muddied, and people began to believe that this would somehow this would enlarge the power of the government, allow the government to go after people's enemies. It would allow us to go get your personal information, get your emails without a judge being involved, without there being probable cause. None of that is true. What this does is, in a nutshell, this bill cuts red tape. It makes it faster and more efficient for investigators to get to the scene of the crime when it involves abusing children, so that they can then begin the process of the investigation. It doesn't compromise people's constitutional rights. It does not do anything of the sort. Now, before I hand it over to Senator Hembry, as I said, since 2011, the ICAC task force has grown from about 40 agencies to roughly 125 agencies in the entire state of South Carolina. We have quadrupled the size of the ICAC members within my office. We've gone from approximately 7 prosecutors and investigators to roughly 26, 27 prosecutors and investigators, so nearly quadruple the size of the men and women in my office who are going out there to serve and support our agency partners here in protecting your children. Here with me today, and they're buried behind me, is Kyle Sin, our Senior Assistant Deputy Attorney General. We have Kevin Atkins, who's our ICAC Commander, our Senior Investigator. We have Adam Creech, Special Investigator. Dustin Courier, Digital Forensics Special Investigator. Cammie Guthrie, she's one of our incoming Senior Assistant Deputy Attorney Generals. We have David Grubbs, Chief Forensic Investigator. Kevin Baum, Special Investigator. And Nick Carcetti, Digital Forensics Special Investigator. The reason I'm reading their names off and their titles is these are the people that desperately need this bill passed so that they can better support the men and women on the front lines in the law enforcement communities out there patrolling the digital frontier to protect your children. If we get this bill passed and we get the ability to streamline these investigations, it will make their jobs easier. They wanted to be here today to say that this is important, and I'm here speaking for them. Now at this time, I'm going to ask Senator Hembry to come up here and talk about the bill that he started in the Senate and to give you his thoughts on it. And again, Senator Hembry, I can't thank you enough for your leadership. You've been a real warrior on this, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney General. A couple of things. We are in a new age of electronic crime. Technology has created crimes that we didn't even imagine 10 years ago. We now have revenge porn, AI child abuse. We have harassment and stalking done electronically now. So although this bill is really targeted toward internet crimes against children, it is a tool that can be used for emerging crimes. And with the advancing technology and the advancing type of crime, we need advancing tools to push back against that crime. So this is one of those tools. I think it's really important to understand that it does not expand the power or authority of the government in some profound way. It simply takes a federal law that is existing federal law that has precedent case law that has been has interpreted that law, and it gives you a state version, which is cheaper, faster, more efficient, but has the same due process protections as the federal law. So it really boils down to the due process protections for the suspect are still in place. Nothing's changed about that. The only thing that really changed is which doorway you go through to get the administrative subpoena. One way is costly, it's time-consuming, federal court's slow. There are just not that many federal judges around, and their dockets are full. It gives that authority to a circuit court judge, so we can go through that door. And quite frankly, the only thing, it's hard for me to understand why somebody would be against the bill. You have the same protections, you just have a more efficient way to carry out government functions, essential government functions, and if you slow us down, you're just giving the bad guy time to get away. So I'm looking forward to the House. I know they've been working real hard on it, looking forward to them getting that bill back to us and making sure that we get this bill done this year. It's important for our kids, it's important for our communities, and it's important for the public safety of South Carolina. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Attorney General and Senator. Representative Travis Moore from Spartanburg, and first of all, I'd like to thank the Attorney General for bringing this issue to our attention, and also thank Senator Hembry for his leadership on getting this bill filed and getting it to where it is in the process. As a former prosecutor, I understand and appreciate how important it is that law enforcement and prosecutors have the tools they need to be able to investigate and prosecute the crimes that we see in our communities. The reality is, as Senator Hembry just said, as technology advances, as new technologies emerge, we have evil actors in our society who are going to leverage and use those technologies to exploit and victimize our children. And that's what they're doing right now. So as that technology advances, as we see these criminal actors use it to their advantage to exploit our children, we need to ensure as a General Assembly and as a state that our law enforcement and our prosecutors have the tools necessary to combat that. And that's exactly what this bill does. And I'm going to repeat something that's already been said twice, but it's important to be said a third time because this is where it's unclear in the bill. This does not expand any type of power or authority of the government. The information that the Attorney General is asking to be able to subpoena under an administrative subpoena, that power already exists. That information is already available, but we must go through the federal U.S. Attorney's Office to get it. And these are time-sensitive investigations. There are children out there being exploited and victimized now. We cannot wait weeks or months to get this information. This is an investigative tool. We must close that time gap so that our investigators, these men and women standing right here who work day in and day out to protect our children, have the tools they need, can act timely so they have a better chance of stopping and prosecuting these people from the crimes they're committing. The House passed this bill with an amendment. Assuming it's going to go back to the Senate, I anticipate the Senate will not concur with the House amendments and we'll have a conference committee. But I can tell you, myself and the Republican caucus is committed to getting this done, to providing this tool to the Attorney General and law enforcement because they have to have it to address these crimes against our children. And we're going to make sure that it gets done this session. Thank you.
And again, Representative Moore, thank you again. I watched your advocacy on the House floor, and I appreciate you and the members that supported it. Real quick, we have several members of law enforcement here, sheriffs, and I was going to give them an opportunity to make a brief remark, and then I'll wrap it up. Sheriff Ritchie, did you want to make some remarks?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, everybody, for being here. And I, too, want to thank our Attorney General for all of your support of the law enforcement, not just with this incident or this type of issue, but all issues. And I greatly appreciate all of our elected officials realizing how serious this is, working together so we can get this passed. I will tell you that this is a real problem. This isn't something that happens sometimes. This morning I had intended to have some of my internet crimes against children investigators here, They could not be. Why? They were serving a warrant this morning at a target location from a tip that we received. I've been told that it was a successful search warrant. We have recovered items, and we have had an individual that's confessed to us. We took an oath to protect all those that are out there who are vulnerable. And we need to be able to have the subpoena power that's readily available to us. Talking to my team, depending on the provider, it could take a couple days, but it's usually up to 30 to 40 days. Consistency is what I'm hearing and I'm seeing when this gets passed. We can have consistency with all the providers, so everyone is working with us so we can protect these children. I've heard everyone up here at this podium say today, the more time that goes by, the more we delay, the more harm that's happening to our children, the more targets these predators can identify. So I would encourage everyone to make sure we get this passed. We support our law enforcement, which I know we do, and most of all, we support and protect our children and help us do our job and the oath we took to do that. Thank you.
Good? Okay. No one else? All right. I'm going to close it up, but after I close it up, any sheriffs or members of our team, we've already identified some people who are actually on the front lines utilizing or trying to utilize this tool. We'll make them available to members of the media to interview or to talk to for background. But I want to close up and say, again, for the fourth time, this bill does not expand the authority of the government to come after people's personal information. This allows law enforcement to cut out a middleman to do something that we can already do under federal law, but if we could do it at the state level, it would save us, in some cases, months in trying to identify someone who is harming a child. This is about protecting children. Basically what happened is the Senate passed a really good version of this bill. It went to the House, and because of, I guess, a failure to fully understand the bill and fears that this would somehow infringe on people's personal and privacy rights, that so many people flipped on the bill and they voted to add amendments to the bill. The amendments that were added in the House version basically neutered this bill and made it worse than what we currently have now. And so we want the Senate version to come out of conference, and we want the Senate version to be what the House ultimately adopts and the governor signs into law. If the Senate version is ultimately adopted out of conference committee and the governor signs it, it will make it easier for us to protect your children. So I'm asking people in South Carolina to call your House member and tell them when this bill comes out of conference and comes back to the House floor to vote for the Senate version of this bill, not the newly amended version. We need the Senate version. So at this time, I'm happy to entertain any calls from any questions from the floor for myself, Representative Moore, any law enforcement up here, or we can do one-off interviews. Right now, the question is, how much faster will this make the process? Depending on the facts of the case and the time of the year that the cyber tip is coming in, it could shave several months off of our ability to begin an investigation. In some cases, it's months before we can even get to the location, identify the location where the crime is occurring, and by that time, the child has already been abused dozens of times or more, or God forbid, something worse. So it can shave up to months off of the investigation. Any other questions from the floor? Otherwise, I will make myself available to you individually, and I know the sheriffs, and I have several members of my team will make ourselves available. And Representative Moore, I don't know if you have to run, but we'll make ourselves available. Again, I want to thank the media. This bill is important, so thank you for telling this story, and we appreciate you being here today. This concludes this press conference. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Carl. Tony.
Yeah,